It was an epiphany. I was standing at my kitchen counter, listless, when the thought just occurred to me, almost like a divine light entering into my brain. If any one of you have watched Indian mythology series, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I blurted these words out to my husband. We're homeschooling the kids forever. His face went, shoot! And I knew exactly why he felt that way. In his mind, homeschooling meant standing at a blackboard or a whiteboard, forcing the kids to sit down and teaching them something that they're not interested in. Well, that was our experience, but homeschooling is nothing like it. And I'm going to tell you more about what we do to make it super fun and interesting, answer all your questions about social connections, how will they go to college, how will they take tests, what about curriculum, every question that will come to your mind before calling me crazy for not sending my kids to school. But this video is about why, as an engineer, I am convinced that it is not logical to just send your kids to school, hope for the best, they get good grades, they get a good job, and they'll be happy, content, and fulfilled in life. And to answer that question, let me just define what is engineering. The simplest definition of engineering is using science and maths to solve complex problems. What's the problem in front of us here? The education of my children. Let's break that down. What does education mean? Education, the first word that comes to mind is school, going to school, studying all the subjects, science, maths, chemistry, physics, everything, English, and then taking tests, getting good grades, passing exams, getting a degree, moving on with jobs, businesses, and all of those. That is really the definition of education almost all of us have in our brains. We've just been so used to not even questioning what education means. So let's break that down again. As an engineer, what do? We break big problems down into smaller pieces. We go down to the first principles and we question everything. Questioning authority is my favorite thing to do, but that's a video for another time. I didn't really want to come up with a new definition of education because, again, that is bookish and textbook-like, doesn't make sense. What I wanted was to list out a few goals so I have a plan to do something. My number one goal for my kids was to have this voracious love for learning and really feeling the joy. Number two was that work and play remain the same thing. Number three, creativity. They are free to build whatever they want and we are here to provide them the resources. And number four, problem solving and critical thinking skills. They are able to understand that many problems just look big from the outside, but if you break them down into small pieces, it's easy to solve those little pieces and then put the problem back together to find a solution. Critical thinking is also a similar lane. Question everything, go down to the first principles, and then you'll have your answers. Some bonus goals are them learning how to do deep work without breaking focus. And know that in schools, every 30 minutes there's a bell that rings and kids have to move from science to math to chemistry. Even if the child was just getting into the subject, we all know it takes us 20 minutes to start focusing, and then 10 minutes later you change the period. Well, it's good for the schools to show on paper that they taught the kids so many things, but they are breaking their focus every 30 minutes and then the schools complain, kids don't have focus these days. And that's why with the personalized home education, we can make sure that the kids are able to work on the projects for as long as they want. And this is the only way to create a focus, to create a deep work habit in the kids. And one last practical goal I have for my children is that by the age of 12, they are able to spin up and run an entire business end to end. I don't even need to break things down into subjects because everything is one project. They'll learn how to read, write, do math, history, and geography by working on the same project. This is exactly how the real world works, and our schools are not matching up to that. What we're doing is sending kids to schools for 18 years and then just expecting that they'll mix into the real world and be the leaders that we always wanted them to be. But nothing that is done in schools happens in the real world. We don't talk to each other and make friends because we are the same age. Every school has same aged kids in the same class because it's more convenient for the schools, but not necessarily better for the kids. Dividing different concepts into subjects also doesn't make sense. We have to do projects, and many things come together as a project. Making mistakes is a big part of life, and mistakes are not celebrated in schools. So how will kids develop the sturdiness to fumble, falter, make the mistakes, get back up, and try again and again and again. We all have this notion that schools prepare us for the real world, but do they? There is nothing real world like that is happening in school. Kids need to sit in one place, obey the teacher, and not disrupt anything in the classroom. But when a startup disrupts a market, that's considered awesome and celebrated, but kids are not allowed to do that. So many things that we had to unlearn from our school days to really just assimilate into the real world. Once I thought about these basic principles of how learning occurs, how our brain works, memory works, I just couldn't get myself to send my kids into an almost black box of a system. The child goes to school, spends 8 to 10 hours over there, comes back. I have no idea what they did, what they discovered, what they invented. The teachers don't really have time. Once in 6 months, we get a 20-minute parent-teacher meeting and that's it. And I know this because I sent my eldest to a school for 3 years, and I always just wondered what is happening with her growth and learning and achievements. It was really hard to understand what her personality was even like at the school. And this last 1 year that we've had together as homeschooling parents and kids, we have learned so much about our children, and it's been the best journey forever. But now I want to answer the most burning questions every time I say to anybody that the kids are homeschooled. Usually it's just a question because we travel a lot, sometimes six months a year, and people ask me, so how do the kids do school? And I mentioned that they are homeschooled. Of course, questions arise. So let's see what are the most popular questions, and I will answer them one by one. And if you have more questions than that, let me know in the comments below, and I will get to them in a future video. So the number one question I get is, how do they socialize? The kids need school to make friends, right? Yes, partly true, but not really. As homeschoolers, we seek out for other homeschoolers and we meet them pretty regularly. So we have one homeschooling group that we meet with every Friday. The kids do lots of projects together and it all happens in the outdoors. They are allowed to move and do whatever it is they want. They work on things because they're interested, not because someone is forcing them to. There's a bunch of classes we go to, tennis, gymnastics. We've been doing these classes for years and years, and we have a bunch of friends from those classes. We all know that socialization is based on the effort a person makes. So if you make some effort, socialization will never be a problem. In fact, I think my kids know way too many people, and it's really hard for us to even figure out a birthday party without inviting 50 people. So that's never been a problem. They get plenty of socialization. Another question comes from my husband. He's like, I have no experience teaching. I'm not an expert. How can I be trusted to teach my kids? Well, have you heard this cheesy internet concept about if you spend 10,000 hours on something, you become an expert at it? By the time your child is 5 years old, you have already spent 10,000 hours with them. And of course, as you grow with them in this homeschooling life, you're going to spend more and more hours. There is nobody who is more of an expert than you as a parent with your child. And when it comes to schools, teachers go through a lot of education about schooling and how to teach kids. The thing is, we can learn as the journey goes on. And there are a lot of things teachers have to learn, which has nothing to do with education. For example, all of them have to handle a group of 30, 40 students, and a lot of their training is based on that. So much time gets wasted in a school if 1 or 2 kids are being disruptive, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but just in that setting, it's a disadvantage. The rest of the class has to come to a halt and a complete slowdown till this disruption is evaluated and removed from the class. It's just not a very efficient way of giving individualized attention to the children. As parents, we can do a much better job. In fact, I am a voracious learner myself, and a few years ago, I just decided to learn everything that existed about how to make our brains better. I learned about memory, I learned about the foods to eat, I learned even about spirituality. I'm not a very religious person, but this gave me a good high-level picture of how our brain works, and I have used so many of those learnings when I teach my kids, understanding the basics of how the brain works. I really doubt any of my teachers cared enough to learn about those things and give us kids those tools. For example, have you ever heard of memory palaces to improve your memory, or active recall, or spaced repetition? They are such amazing memory and brain concepts that schools don't teach us. They just expect us to take the tests and get good grades at it, but they give us no tools to figure out how to get these good grades. Cal Newport, the author of the amazing book Deep Work, mentioned in one of the podcasts that
and active recall was the thing that turned me all around. And so I went from a pretty good student to 4.0 every single quarter. Sophomore year, junior year, senior year. I got 1 A- between my sophomore year through my senior year. It was like this miraculous transformation. It was active recall.
So as a parent, I can give these tools to the kids, which brings me to the next question. When they ask, hey, what about high school? What about the tests that they have to take to go to a university? I'm going to give them these tools. And especially if they are interested in a certain course or a certain career path, they'll come and let me know that my child wants to become a neurosurgeon. I'll let them know that this is the path. You have to take a few tests, even though my kids are not going to be tested in as many years as we possibly can, because tests are completely useless, especially grade level 1, 2, 3, even till 10th grade. Every child that is being tested has two outcomes. Either they get really good grades or bad grades. Of course, the kid that gets the bad grades loses confidence and is so disadvantaged, they're shamed and whatnot. But the child that is getting good grades is also getting the short end of the stick, because now they have this giant amount of pressure. They have to maintain these grades, and the entire game becomes about getting the grades instead of really learning, building, or creating. None of the goals that I had, that I mentioned previously in the video, are going to be fulfilled if the kids get constantly graded and tested. So grades are absolutely useless, even though they are part of the real world. This is something one of the parents I was talking to said, my child needs to be tested because they're part of the real world. So I didn't want to say it, but I'm like, how about we change the world and create a different system where something this useless and this damaging is not being done to our children? And also, when the time comes, I will be giving my kids all the tools about how to ace their tests, because testing and grades is just a game. It's not an indication of the skills or capabilities of a child. That brings me to the next question, is how will they get into universities if they are homeschooled? Well, there are many Ivy League universities, top universities in the United States, that welcome homeschoolers with open arms, because they know that these kids have been learning mostly by their own will. And to go an extra mile, I am documenting the progress that my kids are making regularly. And that means I'll have a portfolio of everything that they've done, all the projects that they've made in the last 18 years. If any university wanted it, I could even make a TLDR version of their year by year progress, or every 5 years progress, to help them see how much they can read, write, solve maths, or build complex projects all by themselves, and including running the businesses that I aim to teach them how to. I am confident that once a university sees this, they will know the capabilities and skills of this child, and they'll prefer that over any grades. And if they don't, I don't think that university is a good fit for these kids. Oh, and this is another argument I get from my friends or parents all the time, is I can't spend so much time with my child. I just need a break from them. I go to work, I talk to adults, and I come back, and then we meet, and I'm a better parent that way. And yeah, I don't spend 24 hours with my kids either. We have lots of camps and classes. And also, like a couple of times a week, we have a nanny come in who takes them out and plays with them for a few hours at a time. So me and my husband can go play and get our time with our friends and adults. So homeschooling doesn't mean that the kids will always be at home and you'll be spending 24/7 with them. Yes, you'll be spending a lot of time with them. And as you grow older, there will be one regret that you won't have, that I didn't spend enough time with my kids. In fact, like, I think we're gonna regret a little bit on the other end of the spectrum. But we are able to balance it very well by just figuring out these small things. I could give this excuse and then just send my kids to school that I don't want to be with them, and then they come back tired, exhausted from the school, and we have like a little bit of a conversation. But honestly, I didn't have kids to have that kind of relationship where they go to school, their energy is completely gone, and I get the leftovers. I had my children because I love them, I adore them, and I want to spend this time with them and build a relationship with them. All the seeds that I'm sowing right now with my young kids is what I'm going to reap when they are teenagers, when they are adults. And why should our relationship be any different right now when they're children than when they will be adults? If you ever feel that you can't stay with your kids, they don't listen to you, or you don't like their company, then that's really a deeper problem, and sending them to school is not going to fix it. And of course, the most famous of them all, I have a job. I cannot stay home and teach my kids all day long. Absolutely, I understand. We are in a unicorn situation where the two of us are early retirees, and honestly, we questioned our decision to homeschool them so much. We were like, what are we doing? We could just send them off to school and like just chill, play, go surf every day, and we won't have to deal with any responsibility. But like I said, I did not have my kids to just send them off to school or somewhere else, so I didn't have to spend time with them. I genuinely enjoy the company of my kids and have lots of fun with them, especially when I'll share with you what we do for our homeschooling projects and efforts. But I understand the point about the job, because this was how it was supposed to be designed. School systems were created when Industrial Revolution happened, and all the parents need to go to factories 8 to 4, and the schools ran in these parallel hours. The thing is, Industrial Revolution is over. We are quite settled with industries. A new revolution, computer revolution, is here, but the schools haven't caught up. There are cases where parents will never be able to change their lifestyles just because they're so stuck with either finances or other logistical problems, and that's okay. You can send your kids to school and also be intentional about the rest of the things that I mentioned and supplement their education so that they are able to fall in love with learning. But I also know so many parents who don't have financial independence. They are struggling to make ends meet, but they have changed their careers, jobs, schedules, hours, because this was more important to them. This was something that they were passionate about, and they put the education and the relationship with their kids first and worked their life around it. Most of us go to job and send kids to school because that's how the world has worked in the last 150 to 200 years. And it is very easy to do what the rest of the world does. But if you question everything to its foundation, you will know that it doesn't really make sense anymore, because the world is changing so fast. It's going to be transformed. The internet is here, AI is here. And according to Yuval Noah Harari, who's one of the most brilliant anthropological authors, he mentions that once these kids have grown up, they will have to change careers every 5 years, not just jobs. They may have to change careers every 5 years. And that's not going to happen in this industrialized education system, where all that is important is to do tasks repetitively with minimal error. That was what people were supposed to do on the conveyor belts in industries. Repeat the tasks with very little error, and the kids were being trained to be the next generation to do the same thing. But if you think that your kids will not be going to factories and working these repetitive jobs, then they need to start learning in a completely different way. Every giant successful business has been started by people who took big problems, broke them down into small pieces, solved these pieces, and put solutions together. That is the kind of world that we are working towards. And I don't think the majority of school systems have caught up with that concept. So one of the most important points that you can take away from this video is that you don't have to pull your kids out of school. Even if you agree with everything that I said, there is so much you can do to create these opportunities of problem solving and critical thinking in their daily lives. First of all, I know that there are schools, though not too many, that focus on project-based learning. Acton schools specialize in business learning for children. They are working project-based. I was recently in Bali and went to a school called Green School, and what they do is work in blocks. For 3 months, they just learn about water. So any math, English, history, geography, literature is about water. So think about what kind of pedagogy, philosophy your kid's current school has, and if you can find schools that have more logical ways of teaching kids instead of just repeat, test, pass, go to the next grade. Another thing you can do is learn how a child's brain works, how memory works, I will leave a list of books in the description box that you can use to get started on your education journey so you can support your kids' education better. The more you read, the more your kids will be interested in reading. So read about brain, memory, history, health, everything that you can bring as a culture inside your house. Build projects with them during weekends. Let them understand that projects can go from 1 to 3 to 5 days. Inculcate the feeling of non-competitive but productive teamwork. Most of the times in schools, the kids that are doing really well, getting the best grades, they wouldn't even come talk to you. I had this friend who got the best grades, but she was like, look, I'm your friend, but when it comes to grades, I'm not going to share with you anything that I do. Don't come to me. Our relationship stops over there. So we only learned how to be cutthroat and competitive, but you can encourage this feeling of there's no I in a team, and actually having people around you as a sounding board and as partners to work on a giant project is how humans have created wonders. This is how the real world works. The real world does not care about an individual's progress. We all have progressed so much as humanity because we work together. I will answer this question very quickly, is how we teach our kids on a day-to-day basis. The first thing is that I have removed any curriculum or any testing from our education plans. There will be none of that because, again, it does not make sense. Curriculum has been set by somebody random who'll say, oh, by 3rd grade, all the kids should know this. Why should all the kids know a certain thing? Because someone sitting somewhere in a room decided that my child should know that. No, that's not how the human brain works. Every child has these sensitive periods and areas in their brains. Like right now, my 4-year-old is obsessed with maths. He wants a math cake for his birthday. But my 7-year-old really is into brainstorming and creating new board games. So we are supporting everything that these kids want because, one, it's a path of least resistance for us. No one's gonna hate us for making them do something, and they are able to learn what they want, how much they want, and for however long they want. Again, the real world works like this. When I start learning, I don't do it because I'm supposed to. I pick a book because it was interesting to me and I learn about that concept for as long as I desire. Then I get really good at it and I feel the happiness and joy. So I'm able to use those learnings and excel with it. That's it. Homeschooling does not mean make your kids sit and write on a whiteboard till they suffer. Homeschooling just means doing life with them. So when my child asks for math and counting, I know sometimes he's fumbling over his counting, so we go to the beach and we count the number of boats we see. Every time I do a task, I include them with me. I sometimes have my children help me with lighting and setup of the camera while I work on my YouTube videos. They do life with us. And as parents, we observe their interests very keenly, and we stand still just giving them the resources that they need to have a great time. And when the kids are having this amazing time, they build, they create, they do hard things. Hard things do not come because there's a whip on their backs. Hard things are done when you want it to. Any Nobel Prize winner hasn't done that advanced studying and research because someone put a gun to their head. It's because physics was like play to this scientist, and he just wanted to play with physics and objects and centrifugal forces, and they just get lost in that world. Why should children have any less opportunity than this? Our job as parents and caregivers is to provide them with quality moments of time. They deserve it. Our kids deserve the quality of time and the gift of time. I cannot wait to see what my kids do in the next 18, 20, 40 years. This is not a, oh my gosh, it's been 3 months and the child hasn't done X. I treat this project like the stock market. In 40 years, I know I will see growth. I have to be patient. I don't have to test them, and they will learn because kids are born hungry to learn. One last thing I wanted to share is that my husband mentioned that he does not like to teach the kids. All he wants to do is play with them. And I said, Oh my gosh, that's the best idea. Play with them. He plays Uno with them all day long. So many board games. They are getting into, I think now we own more board games than I, as a minimalist, would be comfortable to own. But the kids learn so quickly. My daughter destroys us in the memory game. She is great with strategy games like Settlers of Catan or a bunch of other things. And my husband has the best time playing games with them. This is the one thing that he was worried about. I don't know, she doesn't really listen to me. If I teach her something, she'll just do whatever she wants. But now when I see them playing games together and bonding over it, it's just so beautiful. And these games, even if you wanted to kind of academically test your kids, they are learning math, they are learning reading, they're learning strategy, English, whatnot. They're just learning left, right, and center, just playing games. So trust me, there are many fun and easy ways that you can figure out how to educate your kids. Whatever is your interest, that energy will shine through, and you do that. As the other partner, I am really interested in this big picture, the strategy, the 40-year plan, and those are the things that I do. But I also make sure that my corporate stuff, making too many spreadsheets and curriculum, does not come in and dilute this experience of joy and contentment. I am homeschooling my kids. That does not mean I'm bringing the school home. It's a completely different way of thinking. It's just a new way of living with them. As a parent, I've never been more fulfilled looking at the progress and how my children have been learning. It's not a black box anymore. And I couldn't have been more proud of the way our family is evolving and growing together. So if you have any more questions that I did not answer in this video, let me know. I'll be happy to make a follow-up video with all your questions answered, with resources, books, and examples of our day, how we spend and learn. So let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.